Today, we're going to dive into 5 money mistakes that are so hidden you might not even know you're making them. These are the kinds of subtle slip-ups that can quietly drain your bank account over time.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. You probably think you've got things pretty much under control, right? But take a second and be honest. Are your financials really in the best shape they could be?
It's so easy to assume everything's fine on the surface. But the reality is, it's those tiny, overlooked gaps that can end up costing you a whole lot of money, time, and, let's be real, your peace of mind.
All right, let's jump into the first hidden mistake, and trust me, it's a big one. Experts call it the planless portfolio problem. Basically, it means you have a bunch of investments, but no real game plan.
Yeah, and you don't have to take my word for it. Financial planner Carolyn McClanahan says the #1 mistake she sees is people having investments that are just haphazardly chosen. They're just not lined up with what they actually want to achieve. It's a collection of stuff, not a real strategy.
And this really lays it out, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the problem. This random mix of funds and stocks you heard about somewhere, with no rhyme or reason. And on the other hand, you've got the fix. A solid, cohesive plan where every single dollar is working towards a specific goal.
Okay, so how do we actually build that cohesive plan? Well, it really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you got to figure out your risk tolerance. How much market craziness can you stomach? Second, what's your time horizon? Are you saving for next year or for 30 years from now? And third, you take those answers and create your own investment policy to guide all your future decisions.
And you know where this lack of planning really bites you? Taxes. It's a huge one. For example, if you're holding actively managed funds in a regular old taxable account, you could get hit with some nasty, unexpected tax bills. The fix can be as easy as just moving those investments into a tax-advantaged account, like a 401k or an IRA.
Now, that messy, unplanned approach leads us right into mistake number 2, leaving a trail of forgotten retirement accounts behind you every time you switch jobs.
Just think about it for a second. How many jobs have you had in your career? It is incredibly common for people to have 4 or even 5 old 401ks just floating out there. Each one has its own fees, its own rules, and its own investment choices. It's a mess.
And here's the deal, plain and simple. The problem isn't just that it's disorganized, it's that those scattered accounts are often packed with high fees that are eating away at your returns. The fix? It's simple, but so powerful. Consolidation. I mean, the benefits of rolling those old accounts into one place, like an IRA or your current 401k, are huge. Suddenly, it's way easier to see how you're doing, you can often slash your total fees, and most importantly, you can apply one single, consistent strategy to all your retirement money.
All right, mistake number 3. And this one can have some seriously devastating consequences. We're talking about what happens when your life changes, but your paperwork doesn't. And that can lead to something called unintended heirs.
So let me ask you a question. Imagine you go through a huge life change. You get married, you have a kid, you get divorced. What is the very first financial document you should update?
Now, if you're thinking my will, you're not alone, but you could also be making a massive mistake. And here's the critical, mind-blowing fact. Those beneficiary forms you fill out for your accounts, they are legal contracts, and contract law overrides your will. That means if your ex-spouse is still listed on your 401k, they get the money. It doesn't matter what your brand new will says.
This is exactly why a regular checkup is an absolute must. You need to look at your will, your trusts, your powers of attorney, and especially those beneficiary forms on every single account you have. Make sure your money is set to go exactly where you want it to go.
This brings us to our next mistake, and it's all about follow-through. It's not about having a bad plan. It's about having a great plan that you just never actually put into action.
Okay, to get this next point, we need a quick primer on something called a revocable trust. Don't worry, it sounds complicated, but it's simple. Just think of it like a legal box you create to hold all your stuff. Its main superpower is helping your family avoid probate, which is the long, public, and often pricey court process after you pass away.
And this is the mistake. People spend all this time and money creating the trust, and then they forget the single most important part. They never actually put anything in the box. They don't retitle their house or their bank accounts into the trust's name. And an empty trust does absolutely nothing.
When you look at all these mistakes, the planless portfolio, the empty trust, they all come from the same place, really. It's treating your financial plan like a one-and-done task. And the bottom line is that these little oversights can snowball into absolutely massive consequences down the road.
Okay, so let's wrap all this up.
If you remember nothing else, remember these 4 things. 1. Consolidate those old accounts. Simplify your life. 2. Align every investment you have with your actual goals. 3. Make sure all your legal documents, especially those beneficiary forms, are up to date. And 4, and this is the most important, revisit your plan regularly.
Because here's the thing. Your financial plan isn't something you set in stone and then forget about. It's alive. It's a living, breathing document that has to adapt and change as your life changes. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. When was the last time you gave your financial plan a real, proper checkup?